Every week I start this weekly summary by saying, you know what? This was the biggest week. We had so much news. We had so much impact on the market. Well, guess what? This was the biggest week that we ever had. Let's dive into it. We had election. We had rate reduction. We really had a lot of news. And of course, the market went crazy after we got what we got. This is where we are. So hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. To everyone that is new here, I'm Micha Stocks, and on this channel we talk about stocks. If you're new, it would be amazing if you can subscribe to the channel, and by that, of course, turn notifications on to be notified on every new video that is posted. This is how the major averages ended, not the month and not the year, the week. In the last 5 days, the Dow Jones, our grandfather's average, went up by 4.6%. S&P went up 4.7% for the week. Nasdaq went up 5.46% for the week. And the Russell went up 8.74% for the week. This means that Warren Buffett's cash pile, that is in T-bills, for the whole year made the same performance as the major averages. This is how crazy these numbers are. And don't get me wrong, these are radical numbers. This is not something we are expecting to see every week. Actually, it's one of the best day after elections that the market ever had. When we look at the indices themselves, you can see that consumer discretionary was up 7.5%, mainly because of Tesla, which we'll see in a second. Energy up 6.5%. And on the flip side, we got both utilities and consumer staples up only 1.3 and 0.8 respectively. And this is the crypto market. When the market believes that the new president is the Bitcoin president or the crypto president, you can't hold back. Bitcoin up 13%, 13.5%. And of course, Ethereum up 27.5% for the week. And this is how commodities look like. Crude oil up 1.4%, natural gas up 0.3%, while silver and gold down 2.2% and 4.4%. And that, of course, brings us to the Magnificent Seven. If I would have shown you just these Magnificent Six, it would be like a regular week. Apple up 1.8%, Microsoft up 2.9%, Meta up 3.9%, but then you got Nvidia up 9%. That would be a regular week. But guess what? This week, after Trump was elected, and Donald and Musk is an integral part of the Trump family. Don't ask me why. Tesla is up 29% for the week. It's like a slingshot that was just released. 29% for the week, and we are very close to the fact that to the point where Tesla is not, or is close to a point where Tesla is going to surpass the S&P 500 year to date on its gains, where up until a week or 2 weeks ago, it wasn't even close. That's how rapid these moves are in a crazy market that we are. And this is also pretty amazing. 1 year performance of the S&P 500 versus the Russell. If I would have asked you, you would say, Russell, it doesn't really move. I don't really see any gains there. The Russell surpassed the S&P 500 due to the gains this week and is now 40.4%, not year to date, but 24 months, 1 year, versus 38.7% for the S&P, which is also amazing and dramatic. Those were the things that happened during the week. Let's dive into the news. And of course, we have to start with the election and the results, which was a knockout for Donald Trump over Kamala Harris. This ignited, whether it's a election rally, a short covering rally, chase rally. I don't even know which kind of rally it was, but people that have waited for at least a week understood that they couldn't, of course, wait a week and they need to start buying stocks. That ignited what we saw in the market. We also had a lot of earnings. They took the backseat to all the other events, but we did have interesting moves from several companies, mainly from AppLovin and others, which went up in a dramatic way. And only Friday we figured out why. We'll see it in a second. Federal Reserve cut rates by 25% and is expected to cut again 25% by the next meeting, which is in December. But everyone will remember one answer to, or actually two answers to two questions that are related, that came from Jerome Powell when he was asked, are you, or can Donald Trump fire you? And the answer was no. No, he can't. It's not legal to. And by that, I want to say shots fired. We'll see. GDP is at 2.5% for the year currently. The best market right now exists in the US. Stock market, economy, until it won't be, but currently it is. And this is the reason why AppLovin went up. You can see that it is going to join the NASDAQ 100, which is the triple Qs, QQQ, by November 18th. And if you haven't seen AppLovin's chart for the week, let me introduce you to I need the Google Finance, of course. Let me introduce you to a stock that just goes up, never comes down. By the way, when you hear something like a stock only goes up and never comes down, just so you know, it will come down eventually. This is how it looks like year to date. You see this line? This is a parabolic line. Only in the last 5 days, the stock went up 79.8%. It's a real company, by the way, with earnings and everything. It's actually a company which even reported their earnings this week and went up after their earnings by 45%. And after that point, they went up another 17.9%. So miracles can happen if you own AppLovin. If you don't, then it might not happen to you. Salesforce, ticker CRM, is hiring 1,000 people for their AI product sales push. They understand that there's momentum and they need to capitalize on it. Thank you very much, CRM, for acknowledging the fact that AI exists. DXYZ, an ETF that trades private companies. It has very, very interesting companies, as you can see here. It's called Destiny Tech. The ticker is DXYZ. And the companies that it holds under its umbrella are SpaceX and other private companies. Why am I talking about that if you can only buy the ETF and not, of course, these companies? Because after Trump's win, this stock went up 170% since Tuesday close. Why? Because everyone wants to invest in SpaceX. 37.6% of SpaceX is, or 37.6% of the ETF holds SpaceX stocks, which is not a lot. But the thing is that with all this excitement, the ETF cannot really buy more SpaceX stock. So what you're basically doing is you're buying a very, 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 very expensive ETF without no reason, because they can't really buy stocks. It's not like a regular ETF that they can buy Nvidia or Tesla or something like that. So basically now you are paying for DXYZ 465% above their net asset value. If you're new, let me explain. Let's say this thing costs $100. That's what it costs in the store. $100. You come, you pay $100, you get it. When you invest in DXYZ, when net asset value, $100. You are now buying an ETF, which can keep going up, but there's no logic, no math, nothing. You are now paying for the same, whatever this is, $565. It only costs $100. You're paying $565. That's the meaning of 465% above net asset value. Does it make sense? No. Will it fall? Of course it does. Every time it happens, it falls. Don't be the one holding the bag. That's all I'm here to tell you. Biden administration is rushing to finalize their chip deals. They want to start transferring money so more and more companies will enjoy the money before they're out of the office. China announces a $1.4 trillion package. Investors were not that excited from it. I believe it's not the last word from Chinese. I think it's going to be interesting what they're going to do, especially now. Palantir, very interesting use case. They're helping keep $1 Frosties for Wendy's in the stores. Why? We're very much focused on Palantir being an AI company selling to huge brands, mainly military and government. This use case is a new use case that no one really thought about. How can they manage your supply chain. Very, very interesting. And if we're talking about the government one, Palantir, Amazon, and Anthropic are joining forces to support the government with AI and Palantir's capabilities. China's October exports surge while their imports fall, meaning China's economy is very weak versus other economies where China exports to. Stellantis is going to fire 1,100 employees in Jeep plant because people are not buying Jeep products. Taiwan Semi and Global Foundries, ticker TSM and GFS, are finalizing a $1 billion deal to start a chip factory in the US. Why? Because they don't want tariffs. Why? Because Chinese are going to invade Taiwan in the next 2 or 3 years. And everyone's preparing the US to be the biggest, not only buyer of chips, but also of supplier of chips. Just like in the oil industry, by the way. Saudi Arabia are fed up for the fact that the EU is getting more AI capabilities than them, and they're planning a $100 billion AI hub to rival the UAE, which means that NVIDIA is going to get another 50, 60, 70, 80 billion dollar of contracts now from Saudi Arabia. And this is Amazon, which get the FAA approval to fly its new, smaller delivery drone. Why would deliveries be with drones? Because there are people that are in rural areas, and you do not want to send a truck for a small package of headphones. So a drone would be very, very cheap, and of course, have the same effect. Apple is facing their first EU fine over app store practices. Jeff Bezos keeps selling Amazon stock, although on Wednesday he stopped selling at 200. There's a wall at 200, and the stock went up. Let me show you if you're not aware of Bezos's wall. Here is how it looks like. AMZN. Here you can see, let's do year to date. You can see that every time it hit 200, it stopped. 200, it stops. But in the last few days, 5 days, you can see it actually surpassed the 200 and got all the way to 210. Of course, he sold. And hopefully he's done with his selling so Amazon stock can keep going up instead of coming down. A lot of discussion about nuclear energy. Amazon is getting rejected by a regulatory commission versus Oklo, which is getting an approval to build their small nuclear. There's going to be a lot of discussion, and of course we will hear a lot about that from Trump administration as well. Apple, or at least Honhai, iPhone maker, predicts that it was a weak October for the sales. And last but not least, also Meta, focusing the government. They're also working with Palantir and Amazon and Snow in order to provide the government with AI capabilities. Those were the news of the week, which of course was dominated by the election. Next week, we're back to earnings. We're actually with the smaller companies in the earnings. You can see Monday, we get Monday. Monday.com is reporting before the bell opens, then Zeta and Grab and Luminar, and of course Live Nation. Tuesday, we're getting Shopify before the open, then Home Depot, Xeon, and Hertz. And on Tuesday after the bell, we're getting Kava, Spotify, Oxy, and others. Wednesday, we're getting another crypto miner named Hut8, CyberArk, Tower Semiconductors, and after the bell, Cisco, dLocal. You get to a point where Cisco, which was the biggest company in the dot-com bubble, is reporting at the latter part of the earnings. It tells you exactly where they're located. And Thursday, we're going to hear from Disney, NICE, JD.com, and Bilibili. And after the bell, Applied Materials, ASTS, Oklo, and others. And on Friday, Alibaba and more. Smaller companies, smaller traction. When you look at the different events, Monday, we won't get anything. Tuesday, nothing important. Wednesday, we are getting the CPI, 8:30 in the morning, CPI will be reported. Expectations of 3.3 year over year and 0.3 increase. And on Thursday, we are getting the PPI. That brings us directly to the S&P 500. S&P 500, new all-time high during the week. 1, 2, 3 new all-time highs. And now we are above 1, 2 gaps. Gaps is when the price opens higher than the highest price traded the day before. we are entering a point where we have two gaps. Usually these gaps close. 80% of the gaps close. S&P has gaps that weren't closed, but I don't believe that we're going to see these gaps not close, at least some of them. So the closest gap would be between 592 on the SPY and up until 591. If I'll transfer to the SPX to have it in the rounded number, so it's 59.46 to 59.37, and the next gap is 58.60. What's the low here? 58.64, and the high is 57.83. These two gaps might close, whether it will be early next week or later next week. I assume at least the first gap would be closed. The next might be a bit longer, but again, we don't know. That doesn't prevent us from going up in the S&P to 6180, which is a Fibonacci sequence number. And of course, everyone will be waiting for that. The market will be waiting for that. The technicians will be waiting for that. Everyone. That was the weekly summary for the week. I will see you here next week. And during the week, I might upload new videos. So stay tuned. Put notifications on. If you can smash that like button, that will also be amazing. Till next time, Micha Stocks saying bye-bye.